Welcome back, Z-Man fans. This is Mike here, and we are taking a look at Clarice, which episode 4, called You Can't Rule Me. And this episode had some very interesting things that happened in it, and I think the show is definitely working pretty hard to keep our attention, and it's doing a fairly good job. There was a big hit that happened at the end of this episode, which really gripped, I believe, a lot of us, and we'll talk about that here in just a few moments. Well, I'm going to talk spoilers, of course, so we're going to get straight into it, and just talk about some of the highlights of what went down tonight without talking the whole story, and what questions we kind of have with the actual story moving forward as we get into the last 6 episodes as we keep moving through. So, it seems in this episode they didn't derail from the story too much. In fact, they stuck to it. They're basically trying to find out if Krenler and the VICAP group are responsible for the death of Wellick, who was poisoned by the root beer that Clarice gave him, and also that the scout sniper allowed the officer to come in and deliver that food. And we're trying to understand if VICAP is going to get ended or not. And as the story goes on, we see that the team's answering phone calls on a desk for all the complaint lines or whatever. They end up doing their own research, trying to continue the story along. I will say that this wasn't the most exciting part of the episode, but I guess it was keeping my attention just to see what they were up to and to see how they were going to try and find the people that are pulling the strings that are higher up, because it seems like there's some really dirty stuff going up in the ranks, because we find out that that police officer that got into the government building would have had to had legit government credentials, and we find out that he got his outfit from just a local laundromat. Just he stole it, and then he got the credentials and got in. But who gave him the credentials to get in? That's the big question. So how far up does this go? We even find out later in the episode, as VICAP finally actually gets cleared from the responsibility of Wellick's death, that apparently Wellick had a stroke when he was a young man, and it didn't seem like he was probably going to have a stroke. It seems somebody has gotten to the corner and has also pulled the strings once again to help VICAP get off the hook. So it's weird. It's like they're trying to clean this mess up, but yet they don't want VICAP to be, totally annihilated. It's very confusing what's going on, higher up. Who's pulling these strings? And during all this, even a schoolmate of Krenler, his name's Tony or Anthony, basically has been hired to come in and try and end the VICAP group. So during this episode, it is his one main mission to end Krenler and his entire team, including Clarice. It doesn't quite work out for him, even though he tries very hard. He also even brings on the services of Ardelia, and he knew that she was a close friend to Clarice, so he ends up driving a wedge between their friendship, which was pretty hard to watch. Especially, I can't help but always think back to the movie Silence of the Lambs when they were just in the cadet training, and just how well they got along. But it seems now that they're out in the real world and they're doing the work, there's some animosity there, and you're definitely feeling it from Ardelia, because she's been passed over, it sounds like, or at least not allowed to move on from Cold Case, even though she aced all her tests. She clearly has a mind for the work, and it sounds like her skin color might actually be the reason why it's not happening. Not cool whatsoever, but this seems to be the problem, and Ardelia is very upset that Clarice didn't fully see this or understand this. Is it fully Clarice's fault? That's up for debate. I suppose it's possible. I think Clarice just really wants to catch the killer, or killers for that matter, and the ones behind it. It's not that Ardelia doesn't, but there's different motives and things motivating our characters, and it was kind of hard to see that wedge get driven between them. I think Ardelia makes a comment later on. She says, just do the work, basically earn it. And Clarice says that she will. So, yeah, it was pretty wild. It was a little confusing, honestly, when we found out about the twin sisters. And this is Marilyn Felker. So this was the name of the woman who apparently was doing the clinical trials. And so this is also, she would be in direct contact with probably the whistleblowers, the women that were murdered. And so as Clarice tries to track down Marilyn, she gets a call from her twin sister, Louann. And Louann works as a caregiver in a coma facility. And she talks a little bit about her sister, says she hasn't talked to her in several years, that they're just totally two different birds. Her sister was more of the pioneer, and that Louann was more of just a caregiver. And so what seems to be almost a dead end ends up being maybe not so much as we finally get to the end of the episode, as Clarice goes back to answer a few more questions, and this is after Vicap's been cleared, mind you, of the responsibility with Wellig's death. She goes to the care facility, and I don't think she's told anybody where she was going that night. She's got a bad habit of doing this. Just even after Krendler told her about this earlier in the episode, he's like, "You didn't tell anybody where you were going." It's like, when you're doing your work and your research, people need to know where you're at, Clarice. Get it going. And so anyway, she shows up. She talks to Louann for a moment, and as she's starting to question her about this airline ticket that was bought for Marilyn some 3 days or so back, but she never boarded the plane. She's curious as to what's going on, and does Buenos Aires mean anything to her? An alarm goes off, and Louann goes to check it, says it's an IV, and as Clarice is kind of snooping, looking around, she notices a woman with dark hair, curly, and she starts to approach her and realizes it's the twin sister. But I was just trying to understand, is it Louann or is it Marilyn? Or are they, reversing roles? Is one trying to pretend, just to be the other so that she could sneak around? And, because we saw that picture of the one in the wheelchair, but I was trying to understand, well, did it lead to her being in coma, or did Louann do this? There's like I said, there's a bit of confusion there. So if you understood that scene a bit more, maybe you'd like to leave a comment and help myself and some of the viewers, because I was looking at some of the other reviews out there, and honestly, nobody was really nailing it very well. So maybe it's just more to be revealed to us in the very near future, and so that's kind of exciting. But yeah, Louann, the one who said she was checking the IV, she ends up stabbing Clarice in the neck with a syringe that clearly has something in it that's knocking her straight out, and that's that. So I don't know if Clarice is going to become, a victim of a Silence of the Lambs situation. Is she going to be stuck down in a tunnel now, or a closet, or who knows what? We'll have to see. It was a pretty exciting ending. It definitely has me on board to watch another episode for sure. I'd like to say that I'm probably on board with watching the rest of this season. The beginning of this episode just wasn't very exciting. I was just kind of like, all right, let's move it along. We get it, Vicap's on it, but it's all part of the story, so we have to kind of go along, with the show. And so here we are. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this short little synopsis of what happened tonight. If you missed it, or if you missed anything during the episode, that was most of the big stuff that really happened. I'd give the episode a solid 7, probably, maybe a little bit higher. Like, it was pretty exciting while they were kind of doing their stuff. I think the research while they were on the call desk was a little hokey, just because it was just kind of like this Eddie, I think his name was. He was kind of like the lackey for Tony, the guy who's trying to end Vicap, and Eddie was supposed to be checking in on these guys, making sure they're doing their call desk job. But I'm like, dude, you must be awful at this. I hope you're not like this with the rest of your work, because several of them snuck away several times and all got away with it. So, I guess it all worked out for Vicap in the end. Again, the episode still stayed true to the story, which is good. And so hopefully we'll see that maintain the rest of the episodes as we head to the ending. So I am Mike with the Z-Man Show. Make sure to come out on Wednesdays and check out my buddy Adam and I as we do movie reviews. I also do Walking Dead reviews every Sunday, so come check those out. And until the next time, guys, I will catch you at the next review. See ya.